Oh, you guys.
And we're on. We are on. Hello, everyone. This is the Cananyu Mountain Run's first chat on the Vertical Kilometre. So the Vertical Kilometre, sponsored by La Sportiva, and we are joined by two legendary athletes here today. We have Alice McNamara, a long-time La Sportiva mountain athlete. She's also a doctor, a sports doctor, and works in a lot of the events with emergency endurance medical services. You're also a world champion rower, numerous world champion rower, and a very celebrated and winner of 7 times winning the Eureka Tower climb. So very accomplished in the stair running scene. So welcome, Alice.
Yeah. Thanks, Link. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and joining us also is Robbie Hunt, a local legend. You will not see a faster mullet flying down the trails of Cananyu. One of a pair of brothers, which has numerous articles on their sibling rivalry and the like. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. Robbie's a local legend, and just had to get him on talking about the VK. I know he's pretty excited about it, and he's got the local lowdown on the trails. So welcome, Robbie.
Cheers, Lincoln. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So our Vertical Kilometre is a very special event. It is sanctioned by the International Skyrunning Federation as an official certified vertical kilometre, and it is also the Australian Championships endorsed by the Australian New Zealand Skyrunning organisation, and will be the Australian team selection event for the World Championships later this year. So for the competitive ones out there, there's a bit on offer. So yeah, let's have a chat. What is a VK? I mean, hang on, maybe that's a question for me. That either you guys want to tackle that.
Course, Link?
Well, actually, no. So a bloke by the name of Neil Hawthorne actually went searching for this course, and we're quite unique here in Hobart, having the mountain on the doorstep, and it's a reasonably steep mountain and a heap of amazing tracks on it. So there was a few different options, and Neil went out and found one that meets the requirements. So do either of you guys know the skyrunning requirements for what meets a VK, or putting you on the spot here?
As far as I know, it's got to be 1,000 metres of vertical gain in 5 kilometres or less. Is that right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it has to be on trails. Not actually sure about that, but I don't know any other VKs that aren't on trails. But yeah, that's right. So it's an average gradient of 20%, and yeah, pretty steep.
Be a very steep road, Lincoln.
Yeah. Hang on,
Yeah.
You're an engineer or something?
Yeah, well, that might be where that's coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a steep run, so it would be a steep road. Yeah, you sure?
Yeah. So the course, or at least part of the course, is a bit of a secret. But we do have a couple of the lower 2/3 of the route on our website in terms of the names of the tracks. Robbie, being the local bloke, I can see you've been out training on the course a little bit. Do you want to give us a bit of a description of the course and its 3, I guess, distinct parts?
Yeah. Well, yeah, as Lincoln said, there's one very distinctive final feature which I'm certainly looking forward to, and I think it's going to be very exciting. But to get to,
and I have no idea what it is, so it's probably like a rock climbing section or something.
We're not saying it's a secret.
Okay, sure.
But
there's no technical rock climbing, no.
There's no exposure.
Yeah.
But to get to that point, yeah, there's it starts on a very steep fire road, and it won't take you very long for your heart rate to be out of control, I'd say. And we roll straight into a track named the Breakneck Track, which, if you were coming back down it, would be a very apt description, I would say.
Yeah, I've kind of got to every second time I go down there.
Yeah, it's an easy one to crash on. So yeah, and it's steep and loose, but you're into it on that. And then couple of little sections where you could maybe catch your breath if you're onto it, and then we're into essentially the second segment, which we'd call a hunter's track. Gradient flattens out a bit, I think it's fair to say. I think you would agree with me there. There's a couple of amazing boulder fields we cross. It's constantly rocky, technical underfoot. So if you think you're just in for a really steep, consistent climb, I'd probably I'd mix your training up perhaps, because it is going to be technically demanding as well as just physically a tough climb. You cross the Pinnacle Road, and then you do get a little bit of a break, I'd say, on the Organ Pipes track. You run on a couple hundred meters on what would be called flat ground, and then you hook into the finale, if we're to call it that. And yeah, it'll be exciting, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean the Breakneck is really quite dry peppermint forest with recent fuel reduction burns and the like through it, but it's really dry. And then hunters, you get into some more wetter forest and some big swamp gums and the like, and ferns, and then those alpine dolerite boulder fields that Robbie was talking about. And so, as you can imagine, like on any mountain, 1,000 meters vertical, you're traversing those different sort of microclimates all the way up. And so, for me, that's a real key feature about the Canadian Mountain Run and all the running events, is that diversity, and certainly none more so than the VK, because you're just going straight up through it. So, Alice, if you haven't seen the track at all, and that, how do you sort of approach traveling into a completely unknown race?
Well, I love the randomness actually of these events. I actually prefer like not knowing what you're going into, because then you've got no benchmark and you can just kind of give it a crack. Which I'm sure a lot of the visitors to Tassie, especially if they're coming from the mainland, as you call it, I think that's kind of the novelty, is that we don't know the course, so you just give it a crack. You've never got a PB on that before, so this is going to be it. So sometimes that's a good thing. So I've done quite a lot of stair climbing, which is probably what we'll talk about a bit later. But usually when you're going to race up a building, vertical building overseas, you've never done it before, and quite often that's it's good. Like, it's good to go in kind of unknown. You've done some stuff at home, but who knows? You're just going to give it a crack. So I guess it's kind of, I won't have seen much of the course when I get over there, and if there's a rock climbing section, well, I hope I don't fall off. But yeah, I think I've seen a bit of the Organ Pipes track. Randomly, I was in Tassie for an expedition medicine course, part of UTAS's program a couple of years ago. And the doctor I was doing it with, we went and did some trail running on Mount Wellington. We found ourselves on that trail. So I didn't think that was the recovery section. So if that's the recovery section, we're certainly in for some gradient, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, there is about 400 or 500 meter of relative flatness there before the last pinch. So it's and the other thing is at any time, if you wanted to catch your breath, look out, because the vista out across the city and the river is absolutely amazing. So how about training? Robbie, I mean, local lad, you can train on the course. Cheating? No, that's local one. What do you call that? Local advantage? But yeah, what's your training looking like, and what would you recommend if you're living locally?
Just on that, the way I ran yesterday, Lincoln, I reckon I'll need every local advantage I can get.
You're out there, mate. Everyone has their day. You're just saving it up for this one.
That's what I'm hoping, anyway. In terms of training, yeah, obviously, I mean, I acknowledge there is an advantage to being a local, but you're not always a local. In most of your races, you aren't a local, so as Alice says, you often do. And I have travelled into the unknown previously in years gone by, and you just sort of have to accept it and see what happens. But yeah, I'm using the course in my training. I won't deny that, because it's the best way to get to know what's going on, and it's the best way to expose yourself to what's coming. I guess in my rest of my training though is probably more road orientated. And track, I guess. Well, I don't use the track that much, but I'm a big believer in speed making you a good runner. And although I don't consider myself a good road runner by any means, it's you can see where the standard is in road running, and it's exceptionally high. And a lot of my friends are very, very fast runners, so I guess I aspire to be quick, because I think if you're quick, you can run trails well. Obviously, there's a technical aspect, but you work that separately. But leg speed is leg speed. So for me, I do lots of interval sessions and tempo work just on flat stuff, and then some hill work too. So, and then obviously I'll try and do a long run or something where I'm incorporating things like the race course or technical trails. So yeah, it's I guess that's the formula I found has sometimes brought success, but yeah, I guess I'm always looking for more leg speed, and yeah, I think this course it would be helpful. But strength is going to be a big part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Alice, what's your training sort of looking like? And I guess is training for stair climbing the same as training for a trail VK? And what's leg speed got to do with it?
Yeah, I guess this is a really good conversation, because I would take the totally opposite approach. And like, that's just historical, because my background was as a rower. So, I mean, that is, the ultimate leg power sport, where your race is 8 minutes of basically squats. Like, you have to do full, squatting, leg compression, glutes and quads, and you're powering yourself down a 2,000 meter rowing course. So a lot of our training was very aerobic to get your VO2 kind of to the position it can be. So you've got your maximum oxygen carrying capacity, and then there was, a couple of gym sessions a week, so that you've got very strong quads and glutes. And like, if you're ever training for something, you look at the requirements of the event. So this is a vertical K. So anywhere, I think the world record of the VK, I don't know, Aaron Knight, our director sportif of La Sportiva, would know, but it's about 35 minutes or something of climbing, I think. But the VKs I've done have been more like 55 minutes. So it's an endurance event, but you've got to have the power to get yourself up 1,000 meters. So I think you need to have strength. I think you need to be able to climb, and I think you've got to have done the quad and the glute work, which can only really be done by climbing up things. And that might be, if you're on a flat, get on a rowing machine and do that. If you've got some stairs, or you've got a building that you can get into, if it's 10 floors, if it's 12 floors, get in and do that. We've had lockdowns for 2 years in Melbourne, so we've had no capacity to go and find a hill, but certainly there's always stairs, and that's what we've been using. I have to say there's been a lot less training going on in the last 2 years, but that also adds to the unpredictability of this event, doesn't it? Yeah, we're able to get back in a building these days. So yeah, with Stair Climbing Australia, we're kind of trying to get at least a session a week in a building that's got like a 6-minute climb at least, and get the lift down. And we're trying to do a couple of reps of that, just so you remind your legs and your heart and your lungs and your brain that these things hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, leg speed, when you said that, Robbie, I'm like, that just doesn't compute for me. I mean,
the mental side of it does, though. Like, that's the painful running session. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that people don't. Yeah, that it would not make a whole lot of sense. But I don't know. I just find if I'm running fast, I think I'm running well, and yeah.
No,
and it's a short race, so compared to your ultras, like, this is a short race. So yeah, you do need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So Robbie's totally right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many people do you reckon are actually going to be? Do you actually run up breakneck, Robbie? Is anyone going to be actually running or?
In my mind, it's, well, I guess my early race strategy is that I anticipate running until the base of the mystery section.
Yeah, cool.
And then
Wow.
who knows what I'll be doing. I could be doing anything up that bit. But it is, breakneck is runnable, and given it's early in the race, I anticipate certainly the front ends of the field will be running up that, probably too quickly, a lot of us.
Yeah.
I think you run until you get to a speed where you know you'd be walking faster, and then you start power hiking. I think that's the kind of, you would run, but sometimes you're running slower than you'd walk. So you've got to know your red line, in that you run to the red line and then you power hike just underneath it. But yeah, some of the guys particularly will be getting the run on for a while.
The one of the common sayings down here is the best kept secret of trail running is you don't really run up hills unless you are elite or really want to push hard.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly if I might see if I can actually jump in and run the VK this year. Obviously, I can't run anything on the Saturday. Got to do all those run director duties, but the VK, hopefully, I can spare maybe an hour, maybe hour and a half. Yeah. No, it's so. What about shoes? Like, do you need special shoes to run VKs or not?
Yeah, look, I think you want something that's pretty light. You don't certainly want to be taking your heaviest shoes up the vertical K. But you need something pretty grippy as well, because the nature of the gradient is that it's really steep, and quite often it's going to be rock scrambling. So you want something that you're pretty comfortable with, gripping rocks on the way up. So lightweight and super grippy is what I would suggest. What's the kind of trail like, or is it really varied?
Yeah, well, I was going to say you're spot on in terms of this course you need traction. I think certainly some courses you could probably get away with more like a road racing flat, but definitely for this course you're going to need the grip. Even just the fire roads are steep and loose, and something with lugs is probably like almost deep mud lugs is almost I think probably required. As I said, the breakneck track is loose and almost shaly, I guess, in some sections.
Yeah, right.
And then we've got a lot of rock and boulder field as well. So, and a Hunter's track, there could well be mud. Just depends. In April, I mean, there's a fair chance we'll have rain in the lead up, and that track can get muddy. So, I mean, I don't think there's really any other terrain you can get. So, you want something with traction, and I guess you want to be confident in your shoes, but you don't want to be carrying a particularly heavy pair of shoes up with you. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I've just had a bit of a joke running with Madge actually after one of the Buffalo Stampede chats about running in Dunlop volleys. How do you reckon they'll go on this course?
They need more grip, Link. They need more grip. They're light.
Oh, they're not that light, actually. They came in the mail the other day, and it's
useless. Totally useless. No, Buffalo Stampede is something else. I remember one of the qualifiers a few years ago for the world team was Buffalo Stampede. Well, they used to have it up Mystic, and certainly you can't get the vertical K up Mystic. You can't get the 1,000 meters in 5Ks up Mystic, but it's steep, and you definitely need something with lugs, and you need something lightweight. So.
Good.
Yeah, and you want to be, it's very different running down. So if this race has no downhills, you can probably get away with lighter shoes with less lugs. But when you want to descend on the steep stuff, you need to have pretty heavy duty grip stuff.
Yeah, well, the VK is definitely straight up and get in the bus and come down that way. And some of the comments, and throw your questions in the comments, folks, and we'll try and answer them. But there is no requirement of running down in the VK. It is an uphill race only, and then we're providing a bus to get back down. So
I will. The La Sportiva have this shoe called the Vertical K, specifically called the VK. So it comes in black and red, and it's super light, and it's got some small lugs. So I wore them for the Kinlochleven World VK Sky Running Champs a couple of years ago, and I wore them on the way up, and they were awesome. Like, they were so light, they got me up. But then we had to run down the same track, and it was like this grassy, really steep descent down this Mamore in Scotland, and it was wet. And I had these shoes, and they were so light, and I just slid all the way down. So they're good up, but they'll be perfect with this. You don't have to run down.
Yeah. No, awesome. How wet are the dry are the trails now? Pete Smith, I think you might be in Queensland up there, Pete. The Breakneck is always dry unless it's actually raining. Hunters has some wet-ish sections. We're actually going to work with the council who manages that track later in the year to do some track maintenance there to help strengthen the drainage and for long-term sustainability of the track. But yeah, there will be some wettish sections, and then any of the boulder hopping, let's just hope there's no snow. But you never know.
There might be.
Yeah, exactly. So we spoke about training, and I guess what you guys do is certainly more elite runners. Could someone just sort of do it off the couch and, or do it with very little training? What do you reckon? And how would that feel?
I think he could. Yeah, like I think it's a 5K race or it's a climb, and you just have to set yourself for. You need to know where your limit is in terms of how fast you're going to hike it. But I think climbing up anything and getting to the top is an exceptional achievement. And I think if you've managed to get 1,000 meters of climbing, I think I think it's attainable, and I think it would give anyone a sense of real achievement. So I think if you've never done trail running before or an ultra before, to start with a short race that's over in a couple of hours, because don't expect that you're going to get it done in what's that world record, 35 minutes. It's going to take an hour or two to get up, and I think it would be so cool to have done, a vertical cave.
Yeah, and the first VK in Tasmania, maybe in.
Probably Australia. Let's be honest.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe. Yeah, there's a couple of places in Australia you can gain 1,000 meters in 5K, but there's really not many, because the nature of the Australian landscape is we've got these really flat, high plains. So there's a couple of spots, and I think a lot of people would know that there are, like around Victoria, there's a few, and I think New South Wales as well, but there's not many that we can hold races in, and so this is super cool. There was one in Donabewarang a few years ago in Melbourne that was a VK. It was runners versus cyclists, but really we haven't been able to hold a VK race in Australia proper for a while, so I think this is why it's really cool that you guys are doing it.
Yeah, here we are. And there is at least one other. So apparently Tasmania is the only real mountains in Australia. I think Edmund Hillary, the first guy up Everest with Tenzing Norgay, said that. I'd have to agree. I mean, from Tassie. So, but there is at least one other VK in Tasmania, and we might, if this is as successful as it's looking it might be, then we might get a one or two more up down here of the Australian VK circuit, all in Tassie. How about that? Cool. Well, I mean, just to answer my own question there about can anyone do it? Then and relying on the best kept secret of trail running, you don't really run uphill. That's what I'd be doing. I think my red line would come in halfway up the first 100 meters of fire trail and then hike the rest and enjoy some photos and sharing the achievement at the top.
Oh, just to add to that, Lincoln, I was going to say you quite honestly could hike or walk the whole thing and put down a very respectable time. That's not
that's my plan. That's totally my plan, Robbie.
There's a couple of sections where you will be definitely benefited running, but on the whole, if you walk the whole thing and really power walked as best you could, you're not going to be much slower than the people who are giving it. Well, I mean, everyone's going to be giving it everything, but people who are trying to run are not going to be going much quicker. That's just the nature of this sort of race. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're going to throw across to questions in the comments soon. So, folks on the line, throw your questions in the comments. But it sounds like if it's a lot of hiking, and Alice, we're talking a lot about glutes and quads. So blokes and ladies in the gym who like to pump the iron, it sounds like that strength in the gym could probably help out on the course here. Do you reckon that'll translate?
Totally. Yep, it could. You'll probably be in for the respiratory shock of your life, though. I think when I've done when I've hit any VK race or a long stair race, that's my limiting factor. I can't actually breathe enough to get the air in that I need. So you need to do a little bit of cardio as well.
Yeah, cool. So
just a little bit more than a little bit would be preferable.
Yeah.
So
get on the bike, put the watts up, put the resistance up, and do some power cycling, low cadence for a long time. That'll get you going if you're at the gym and that's all you're doing.
Yeah. Awesome. So Robbie, look, I know I said we weren't going to talk about the sibling rivalry, but is Alex going to do this one as well with you, and who's going to claim it?
Nah, Alex is he signed up for the day before. He's doing the big 68, so I'll be out there supporting him on the Saturday, trying to get him around that as best he can. And then he's got plans to come out on a Sunday, perhaps with some noise-making instruments and some signs. maybe a couple of rehydrations.
Beautiful, very essential.
Yeah, very essential. I think you'll be trying to get everyone up the mountain as quick as they can. So he's pretty excited. I think he's most excited about coming out to watch, to be honest. And I'm a bit jealous. A really good show on Sunday.
It is going to be. We're going to see some pretty interesting expressions, I think. Coming past some of the spectator points at the at Junction Cabin and at the chalet. Right. Yeah, some people puffing pretty good.
Awesome. You said you might sign up and do it, mate.
Oh well, Look, I've said I might have to wear the volleys and just see how. All right. Yeah. All right. So let's go to some questions in the comments here. My scrolling's doing well. All right. So what do you do differently in regards to running style? So is that you got the hands on the legs and pumping, or big arm swings, or when you're actually trying? So I guess those two techniques are more for when you're doing the power hiking, and then let's do power hiking technique, and then we can talk about the steep running technique. Robbie.
Power hiking, I do get the hands on the knees. I don't think about it too much. I think if I've got to the power hiking stage, my heart rate has gone out of control, and I'm trying to bring it back to hiking. But I'm certainly a big believer in hiking in the right places, because sometimes you can keep up with the person in front of you, and you're not blowing quite as hard as they are, but then other times you lose your momentum or your rhythm, and it kind of throws you a bit. So I don't quite know how I power hike, but I trust that my gym coach has given me enough leg strength to keep pushing me forward, but I know the hands do go on the knees if it's getting desperate. So I think that's a bit. They were doing that yesterday, actually, Lincoln. So that might not be a good thing.
Yeah. So, do you know where you actually look, where your eyes are focused on when the hands are on the knees? Is that a few meters out in front, or looking up a long way in front, or?
I try not to look too far up the hill, because that never helps the mental state. I think they're just a couple of meters, a meter. I mean, you've got to look where you're putting your feet. We're not running on a road, so you need to know where your next step is going to go. Yeah. So you still have to look at your feet, well, not at your feet, but just ahead. So Oh yeah, a metre or two. I'm not really sure, but somewhere
cool.
around there. Yeah.
So power hiking technique, Alice. What's your go-to?
Yeah, the question is poles or no poles, and like to be honest, I quite often don't have them. Most of the time, I don't have them, and I would run the first section until like I hit that red line kind of thing, and then I will start hiking. And usually, if I can do an alternate like run hike, and it might be as close as kind of 20 steps running, 10 steps hiking, 20 steps running, 10 steps hiking. It's funny how you end up counting stuff. And if you can get into a rhythm where you're breathing and you're just staying just under where you're going to pop, then it's successful. Like that's kind of as fast as you can go and make the distance. And so quite often I will alternate quite frequently between running and hiking, running and hiking, running and hiking. And if it's very steep, then you're on the hike and you've got your hands on your knees, alternating, pushing with the hands on the knees. Otherwise, it's run, hike, run, hike, hike.
Oh. We've lost you there, Alice, I think. Or maybe I've just lost everyone.
Nah. Are you there,
There you are, Robbie. Yep.
Yeah, I've lost Alice too, sorry.
Still don't quite have you. We can see you, Alice. Just can't quite hear you. No, all good. All right. So, it's the run, hike. So
Just to add to that, Lincoln, I was thinking funny while Alice was talking. Sometimes the terrain like demands that. Sometimes it's flatter and you do take that opportunity to run a bit and then you hit another steep.
I got you.
Hey, yeah, we got Alex back. Yep.
You hit another steep section, so you revert back to the power hiking. So yeah, sometimes it's just the terrain that forces you to go in those cycles. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, I love power hiking. I'm way more energy efficient power hiking up anything steep. And we've lost Alice completely. Oh, we'll see if she joins back. And yeah, I find more energy efficient with power hiking earlier than others. And but yeah, enjoy passing people when they're still trying to run. And I've actually, for me, hands on the knees for me is kind of the very last resort. I get a lot of good value out of big arm swings because that can sort of, I don't know, it just powers the shoulders through the hips and legs and or maybe that's just because my glutes don't fire properly and I need to use my upper body to throw things around a bit. But anyway, there's different techniques, and my suggestion is get out there on some steeps and try the different ones and see what works. We do on poles. We do allow poles. So if you want to use poles, then go ahead.
Would you recommend that, Lincoln?
No. Poles can be dangerous. I'd rather people don't use. Yeah, you're back, Alice. Welcome back. Can you hear us?
Yeah, my dad called me, and then it cut me out of your call. Thanks, Dad.
Well, there we go. Well, good to see you back. We were just saying there, poles are allowed, but and would we recommend them? And I'd say nah.
Yeah, probably not for this distance. No.
No, and if you do take poles, you have to carry them all the way up to the finish. Now that last section, you're not going to have the poles out. You need your hands, and those poles need to be tucked away somewhere and folded up.
Yeah.
So, and there's that flat section which poles you won't be using them. You'll just be sort of sprinting on the flat. So so recommend no poles. Don't need them. We are another question there. What are we doing in terms of staggering? And yes, we are staggering. We have asked participants to include their fastest or their 10K PB as a method of seeding, and we'll seed. It'll be around. We haven't decided yet. Somewhere between 10 and 20 people starting in each wave. probably more closer to 10 than 20, but still just confirming the logistics there. And the faster seeded runners will start earlier, so they have so that everyone has a clearer course, because it is single track for most of it. So that people don't have to pass people as much, basically. So that's what we're doing there. All right. So any other questions? Yeah, will there be a coffee cart at the top? That's a really good question.
Put that on the list.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that. Might have to, maybe we can set up. I can say there won't be an actual coffee cart as such. Apparently, you've got to get licenses to operate businesses in parks, and they can take quite a long time to get. Maybe that's why event organisers have shied away from trying to do this one before. It's certainly been a tough one. But okay, coffee cart. Yeah, we'll look at putting some McNamara or International Roast up there with it. Will that do?
The jet boil.
Yeah, I think we can sort out a route that up there anyway. Yeah, jet boils. How about that for a new sponsor? All right, I've only got one last question, and for me, I think it's the most important one. Let's see what we can do to make it not a long, important answer, because it's kind of a deep question, but it's why. So not necessarily why running and all that, but why this event? Why this why this VK? What's captured you about running this event? Who wants to go first? Alice.
Me, okay.
Rock, paper, scissors.
No, I'll go. Got like a bit of background in just sort of that threshold sports performance. So there's something really hard about running an ultra. Like there's something really challenging mentally about sticking with something for hours and hours and hours and hours, and just that kind of always moving forward mentality. And I think training for an ultra takes a lot of time. So does training for a VK properly, but training for an ultra, you have to do a lot of Ks and a lot of running, and that's a different kind of pain than what the vertical K pain is. And I guess it's just a different sport. So the rowing race is 8 minutes of absolute agony, where you're sort of holding, when you do your PE class in year 12, and they say you can only hold that T5 zone for what did they say, like a minute or something, and so you have to do it for 8 minutes in rowing, and it doesn't seem physically possible that you can sit over 195 heart rate for that long, but you do. And when you do like a stair climb that takes you up a very, very, very tall building in China or Asia, and it takes you 25 minutes, you don't think you can hold it for that long, but you can. And I think it's exceptionally challenging to be able to sit at your absolute threshold for that duration of time to go up 1,000 meters. And I don't know, that's a different kind of hurt, and it definitely is uncomfortable, and certainly to get that much vertical done in a short period of time is extremely satisfying. So I like that sort of statistically, it's quite good. But also I'm quite busy. Like I don't have hours and hours and hours to run every day. So I work as a doctor and I can't do that, but I can definitely do enough to keep me able to do some vertical stuff. And like I find that very good from a mental and physical point of view to have an outlet every once in a while to have a race. And I think that's kind of wouldn't be alone to me. Like I think a lot of people are very time poor, and they would appreciate being able to do an exciting and beautiful trail race in a short period of time in a beautiful place and achieve a 1,000 meter climb. So there's so many reasons why, but whatever it is for you, I think the VK is very possible.
Awesome. Thanks, Alice. Robbie, Good luck backing up on that, mate. Sorry, but that was beautiful.
Mine won't be so
What's your
interesting.
why?
I think I've probably got two quick ones, I guess. The first one's a bit interesting. I think, and this is probably why I talk a lot about leg speed. I think my interest is born a bit about like the appreciation of the 1500 meter runners and the 5K runners and the 10K runners. And I grew up in an age group with a lot of people listening would know Stuart McSwain, Jake Birtwistle. They're my age and they're actually Tasmanians, although Stu was a King Islander. But I grew up and got torched by them at school cross country and just admired the athletic ability on show, I guess. And whilst I could never match them in a 1500 or anything like that, or triathlons now for Jake, it's I guess the VK is the trail equivalent of those fast races. And I'm not at the stage of my life where I want to run ultras. I still want to try and run fast, whatever that is. And the VK kind of is that. So in my own way, I guess it's the sort of the excitement I see from watching, and it was the Olympics this last year for those two. So yeah. And then the other one, which is probably the bigger reason, is, and we mentioned him earlier, my brother and I spent a lot of time when we were younger running. We live in a little town called, we did when we lived together, in Taroona, which is south of Hobart. And there's this 2K track called the Truganini track that is essentially, I don't know, a fifth of a VK. It's probably 200 metres of vert in about a K and a half-ish. And we spent many of our formative years, I guess, racing each other up that. And a line which I think came from me, which is now getting spruiked a bit in this at this event, is race you to the top. And my brother and I did a lot of that. We used to race each other to the top. For anyone who knows my brother and I, my brother won most of those races, but it spurred me on to keep trying to chase him. And that was, I guess, that the appeal that we had for racing each other up that track has carried on to later in life. And the VK is just the adult version or the bigger version of that. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean the competitive, nature. Some people are super competitive and some people not. I mean, and this will be an awesome achievement no matter what. But certainly if you've got a few mates or gym buddies or whatever it might be, that you want to, see who's the most powerful or the most the all rounder, because you can have as bigger quads as you want, but unless you got the heart and the lungs, and you're not going to win. So a great competitive thing for you and your mates. And whilst 99% of people will be hiking 99% of it, it still is the sprint event of the festival, I guess, that Canadian Mountain Run is, with the 68K solo, which is your brother's doing. That's also a relay. And then we've got a 27 kilometre, which is been very, very popular, actually. We're still getting squeezing people into that through the wait list. So that's all happening. We have got a couple more little quick questions here on the chat, and then that'll be it. But thanks so much, guys, for your why. I mean, that's the most important, I reckon. And it got me thinking, let's ask myself the question, why did I put this on? And the reason, specifically for the VK, the reason for that was Neil Hawthorne, who put the route together, approached me after I did the first Tarkina and said, hey, look, we've got this in our backyard, and it's like, shall we? And it was like, all right, that's amazing. Let's do it. And knowing that we'd likely get the support from Skyrunning and that, and that was over a couple of years ago now, and here we are, just about to do it in just over 6 weeks, actually. So pretty stoked for that. All right, a question from the chat from the team captain there, Alice, Aaron. And probably one for Robbie, who knows the course a bit better. What do you reckon the winning time will be on this course?
Oh, geez, that is a hard question. I haven't done a sustained effort up the whole thing yet. I think sort of got up in about an hour, so I don't know. I think people will be running at 50 minutes, sub 50 minutes possibly. Yeah, I'm not really sure. It'll depend how people, dare I say, it'll depend a lot on how people read the last section of the track. It's there's a possibility for big time gaps. I think Lincoln would agree with me. Like, yeah, it's yeah.
Do you know what? I think the beautiful thing about this is that, do you know, in Australia, we don't know. We, like, most people have never done a VK in Australia. And, you know, I've done a couple overseas, and all the Europeans are really good at them. They know how to do them. They do them all the time. And we might uncover some VK runners that we've never heard of. So I think that's really cool too. Like, we might have some people go, you and I, Robbie, are probably going to get beaten by a couple of young up and comers. Like, it's really cool, and that'll be really good. I don't know, like, the sky's the limit as much as someone can give it a crack.
Yeah, well, the power to weight ratio is probably, as well as the heart and lungs, probably a key component to it. You can be as strong as, but if you're carrying heaps of guns, you might not be as fast. So there's a couple of younger folks who are coming in who are going to give it a good nudge as well. So it'll be quite interesting to see. One last question then, and we missed it before, so sorry, but in terms of the hiking, I mean, are we doing is longer steps and hence having to have more power in each step more efficient, or lots of shorter steps?
I think I don't know, I'm different, but I would mix it up. So I will do like a bit of a short running stint, and then a bigger power hike stint and a bit of short run, because I find it uses different muscles. So I think it's quite preserving to kind of not do the same cadence every time. But some people like to get into a groove and don't come out of it. So you might do your little steps all the way up, or you might do your big steps all the way up. But I find I'm quicker if I keep alternating between big steps and small steps. And I'll do that on the stairs too. So in training, like if I'm in a staircase and I'm practicing power hiking, if I'm going very fast, my max speed is when I'm going 2 stairs at a time. But if I'm very fatigued, I will mix that up between 2 stairs at a time and 1 stair at a time. But I think definitely, like a lot of the stair climbers know, it's much quicker to do 2 stairs at a time. That is the quickest way up a building, is to do 2 stairs at a time. So your bigger steps are quicker.
Cool. I'm just trying to reconcile how stairs are going to work with the track. Actually, there might be 2 or 3 or maybe 10 stairs in total on this entire course.
I think though your gradient, though, you can't find many roads that are the same gradient as your VK. So if you want to practice on gradient, you do need to go stairs. Yeah. Because that is steeper. Yeah. Unless you live at Bright, and then you can practice at Mystic, or if you live at Mount Wellington, then you can practice there. But if you're somewhere away from a hill, then stairs is your best bet for some gradient.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Melbourne's a good one there.
No, there's no hills.
Yeah, no, well, good one for training on stairs rather than, Robbie,
because you've heard we now can leave our 5K radius link.
Yes. Yes. No. Good to hear. Robbie, thoughts on small steps versus big strides?
Yeah, I think essentially governs what I'm doing. If it's small steps, I'm probably running. If it's longer strides, I'd be power hiking. That's how I break it down. I wouldn't walk small steps. I'd either transition to the long, powerful stride, or long, powerful hike, or short, fast, whatever fast is, run. Hanny Alston, who I used to work under her and have had quite a lot to do with Hanny, and most people listening would know Hanny, I'm sure. I think she, and I won't explain it quite how she does, but she likes to advise people to break down hills into, I guess it's almost mathematical in that. Again, I'm behaving like an engineer. But yeah, the smaller, if you make your step as small as possible, you've essentially done no gradient. It's a bit of a, like if you just step slightly ahead of where you are, you have gone up very little incline. And if you do thousands and thousands of them, you're doing very little. I can't explain it like Hanny does. So listen to one of her podcasts on running up hills if you're interested. But she has an interesting take. I don't know how I feel about it.
But that's why 2 stairs at a time on a staircase is quicker, because you actually get a lot of vertical in one stride. And I think you're right when you say if you're going to power hike, you need to do big steps. But if you're going to be running, then you've got a higher cadence and you can actually get up quite quickly. But a lot of people can't keep that up. So, I find I mix it up because otherwise I'll blow on one way or the other. But yeah, I think you're right. It depends on what you're doing. If you're power hiking, you're stepping big. If you're running, you're stepping small.
Yeah.
No, interesting. I love a good power hike because I can't run much. Definitely not up hills. And I've trialed this myself, and what worked for me was a sort of a middle distance, because big long strides took a bit too much power to complete each stride in what felt to be an energy efficient way, whereas the smaller steps they were just too small in a hiking sense. I mean, the very rare times I try and actually run up, then the small steps seems to work well. But for hiking, it was a bit of the middle ground there for me, and it does change whether you're doing big arm swings or pumping the legs or using poles as well. So my recommendation would just be to trial those different stride lengths with whatever you're doing with your arms, and of course the terrain will dictate what you do end up doing. So meld into the terrain, flow with the terrain, not fight.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Often it will tell you exactly what kind of cadence you need to take.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, we might close it there, unless you guys had anything else to add.
Nah, just
final word of advice.
Looking forward to seeing everyone in April.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having the event for us. It's so exciting to get down there again, and can't wait.
Awesome. A couple of little plugs, which are also good information. So La Sportiva is sponsoring the vertical kilometre. It's awesome to have such a committed mountain running brand working with us, and we do have prize money. And that is on our website, I believe, from memory. I should know this. $500 for first female and first male, and we may be making an announcement in the next couple of weeks about increasing that prize money. It is also the Australian Championships for VK, and the Australian skyrunning team for VK will be selected based on this event. So if you're interested in that, register. There are spots still open. If you need to try some shoes on, that's, what shoes am I going to wear? Well, definitely trail runners, and will be good with some lugs, as we spoke about before. Get in to Find Your Feet. They've got some knowledgeable staff there who can help out trying on all the different shoes they've got there, including the full range of La Sportivas. And at the top, there will be Coda hydration for electrolytes. So you can carry some water with you if you want. You're probably not going to have any breath to try and consume any of it on the way. But when you get to the top, there will be some really refreshing Coda hydration electrolytes up there, and we'll look at that international roast and the urn as well.
Makana, surely.
Yeah. And for those that like beverages of an alcoholic variety, there will be Cascade Hobart Brewing Company standard mid-strength. and so Cascade Pale, I think it might be, and also Willie Smith's Organic Cider. So 3 amazing local beverages down at the Run Hub afterwards, and presentations around 2 o'clock. We just need to confirm those logistics as well. And some after Prezzo entertainment. So come on down, a little bit of a party afterwards. Yes, I did say cider. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys, for joining us. It was a really great chat. I learnt a lot, and I hope our crew did too. This video will be available afterwards on our Facebook, and hey, let's try and put it on YouTube as well. May as well. And any other questions, folks, just throw them in this or this chat, and if we've got other questions to cover, we might try and do it in an email and get some more advice out of these awesome people. All right, thanks everyone.
Good training, everyone. Yep, see you in Tassie.
Thanks, Alice. Thanks, Robbie.
Thanks, Link. Thanks, Robbie.